Hello, welcome to another live. I'm a bit late to this live. Big stuff coming in the future. A lot of big stuff. I've been making a lot of moves, and a lot of interesting stuff are gonna happen in the next few months. And I can't wait. I cannot wait to see how further down the journey I'm gonna be in this quest to just figure out how much I could do and what I could be and what I could become and what the values I could provide and the kind of thinking that I can impact and the kind of change I can be in the world, the kind of positive force I can be. And sometimes I find myself listening to a lot of the older Disney soundtracks, and to see what motivation I can get from listening to the soundtracks. Hello to you, Ranira. If you have any question in regard to mental health, anxiety, or depression, you can go ahead. But I was watching one of those older movies, and they were more inspirational. They were more inspirational than the newer ones now. I don't know what they're doing now, but the newer ones, the older ones, was more inspirational. Like one of the movies was the Let It Shine Disney movie, and the Let It Shine was a movie that a movie about a kid that was so afraid to share his feelings with the woman he was interested in, that he put his thoughts into a music, and one of the music was Guardian Angel, where he was singing about how he wants to be a positive force on earth, and not just to sing and rap, but to impact on people. JB, hi to you too, my man. and that's how he expressed himself. And what I want to talk about today is this book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. I don't know how to make it a little bit further to you. This book has impacted me in many ways that I have realized the importance of creating habits. I've realized the importance of building habits in a whole different direction, that is than from the one that I have been doing previously. Because I used to think of fixing. When I think of habit, I used to think of fixing. And that's not how to think of habits. Because take for example, if you have a clutter in your room and you have sat down with that clutter for so long, and then you start to feel, like the clutter is getting too much, and you get a burst of motivation to clean up your room, and you clean up your room, and you are happy for that moment, but then the room gets cluttered again. Why do you think that happened? How about this one? You felt the need to lose weight. You were running out of breath. You saw something motivational on a YouTube video, on Instagram, and you say, hey, I'm going to change the way that I am. I'm going to change what I'm doing. And then you try to change. And maybe you go on a 1 month diet. You force yourself willpower. And you did something. And you changed for 1 month. And then you find yourself getting back the pounds that you lost. Why did that happen? Well, that's one of the reasons why this book, is very crucial. Because when it comes to habits and change, one of the mistakes we make is focusing on the goal. Focusing on the goal and not focusing nearly enough on the system, the process that leads to the goal. Because it's not your goal that is important. It is the system that makes it very important. It is the system that builds the lasting change. Because when your goal is to attain a fit body, it's way different from when your goal is to just lose weight, right? And it talks about identity. In that example of the cluttered room, you cleaning that room momentarily because you got a temporary burst of motivation has very little to do with a lasting change because you haven't addressed the underlying behavior that led to the room being clustered in the first place. Number one, and the second is the new identity that will prevent the room from being cluttered again. The same concept in losing weight. When you are trying to just lose weight, you lose that weight. Now what? You've lost the weight. That's the goal you wanted to. Now you go back to where you were before because you haven't addressed the need of the identity of the person you're trying to become. And that's what this book talks about. Seeing habits in terms of an identity. Seeing habits in terms of what are you trying to become instead of what you're trying to get. Because it's not what you get that makes you valuable. It's what you become. So thinking about how your habits is forming an identity for you is much more important than the goals themselves. And when it comes to habits, they have to be atomic. And he purposefully named this book Atomic Habits, and he was explaining in the book that atomic atoms are little small particles that makes up a molecule, right? Atoms. The small daily improvement, the small daily progress, the tiny improvement that seems so meager at first, but compounded over a long period of time, creates this massive change that each by themselves individually is not important, but put together is crucial, like a building block. That each one is sharing the portion of the load, each one just as important as the one before it. And that's why I think this book shifted my perspective, because although I'm on a path to a lasting change, it has given me the reason, the feel, the understanding of why I needed to change and why I needed to get better and why I needed to do the things that I'm doing. Because just eating healthy for 1 week and then going back to your previous habits is just as ineffective as trying to cultivate on a land that is full of weed and then leaving it after a week. Before soon enough, it will be like you didn't even walk at the ground at all. And you will have this memory of sabotaging yourself over and over again, that you might then go into this state of learned helplessness. And that learned helplessness again forms an identity that identity now becomes where you filter your habits through. Because if your identity says, I'm just a procrastinator, or I'm horrible at math, or I'm just a fat idiot or a fat worthless person, and you are trying to get on a diet program, it will be ineffective because you are operating from a paradigm that says that this new plan that you're going on is temporary. It's just something you want to achieve. So you got to shift the way you see yourself. You have to shift your identity before your new plans can work, before your new action plans can work. And part of it is this atomic habit strategies, which is understanding the small increment progress, the importance of taking things one step at a time. And understanding why you need to take it one step at a time, or even understanding why you need to engage in the one step at a time anyways. And that's understanding identity. Let's go through a little bit of concepts in this book so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. And by the way, James Clear went through something that I think was very unique. He suffered a life-threatening injury when someone hit a fellow teammate mistakenly, was trying to pitch something. He was on the baseball team, and the bat flew from his hand to his eyes, and his eye sockets were completely messed up in a way that he needed to be in a medically induced coma for, I think it was for a week or so. But he survived that head scare, and then he went on to be a college baseball player, though he never made it to pro, which was one of his goals. But he made it to an all-American college team as a college baseball player. And part of the principles that he's teaching in this book is how he made it not just as a college student, but as an entrepreneur who has now written a book that has sold over 3 million copies. And his credentials are unquestioned, and his strategies are just as good. Let's go through some of the concepts that I wanted to share with you on this atomic habits. One of these is the aggregation of marginal gains, which was the philosophy of searching for tiny margins of improvement in everything we do. I often tell myself, think about raising the stakes. Raising the stakes. I always raise the stakes. For example, when I go to the gym, I always raise the stakes. Hi to you, JC the human. I always raise the stakes. I do 10 push-ups and I'm like, okay, I'm tired, but let's raise the stakes. Let's do 5 more. And I do 5 more push-ups. On the treadmill, I'm running at a speed 8, and then I go to a speed 9. I'm like, let's run on the speed 9 for 1 more minute. I'm raising the stakes. All those small tiny improvements. I'm doing push-ups and I do 15 push-ups and I'm tired. I'm like, let's do 2 more. I'm raising the stakes. And these small tiny improvements by themselves doesn't make any difference, but incrementally makes the massive difference. People underestimate what they can do in a year and overestimate what they can do in a week. You cannot reach a new destination overnight, but you can start a new direction overnight. So in other words, you cannot arrive 5 years a place tomorrow, but when you shift your direction, you shift what you're doing just by a tiny margin and continue towards that pace for a consistent amount of time, you arrive at a whole new destination. He gives the example in this book about boarding a plane from LAX to New York. If you board a plane from LAX to New York and the nose of the plane midair was shift just 3.5 degrees midair, you will arrive in Washington instead of New York from LAX. Think about that. Just 3.5 degrees shifted midair. Continue towards that direction, you will land in DC instead of New York. And the distance between New York and DC is 225 miles. Think about that. 225 miles in difference of just 3.5 degrees midair. That's the idea of compound interest. You didn't need to shift a lot. You just need to shift just a little of what you're doing right now. Replacing a candy bar with an apple a day. Replacing the elevator with the staircase. Replacing parking closer to the grocery store with parking further so you can get in a little walk in. Tiny margins of influence consistently done over a long period of time creates a massive change that you'll be startled, you'll be surprised by how much you've changed. But when you try to change overnight and when you try to muzzle through because of what you saw online or because of something that you see other people getting it easier and you think it was overnight, and you think maybe they are faking it and they're faking it, but you think you cannot fake it the way they're faking it. So you pressure yourself to attain something that is unreasonable, unattainable, and you want it to happen overnight. You're going to be discouraged. You will be disappointed because you find out pretty quickly it does not happen overnight. And then you'll be frustrated and you will self-sabotage yourself and you will think that you are no good. You will think you are worthless. But what you are is not worthless. What you are, you're lacking perspective. You're lacking a mindset shift of understanding the importance of small atomic habits that makes up a molecule. Understanding the concept of small daily consistent changes. But even before that is the idea of understanding the identity behind these small changes. Who are you trying to become? Because there are times that even these small steps of progress, you will be discouraged because it's not happening fast. What's going to keep you steady towards the cause of your goal is that idea of the small daily disciplines of understanding that who you are becoming is better than who you are. Progress is better than perfection. Progress is better than trying to get it all at once. You might not be where you want to be, but you are not who you used to be. Exactly. Yes, it's all starting small. You can do it mentally. You can recognize having conversation. Try 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5 friends, Exactly. That's how it is. It's starting small and recognizing that Rome wasn't built overnight, right? And starting small, you can see the massive changes that you want if you stay steady to the course. What's gonna make you stay steady to the course? Your why, your reason, the person you're trying to become. Because the goal is not losing weight, the goal is to become a healthy person. For me, one of the reasons that drives me to go to the gym is not because I'm trying to lose weight or because I'm trying to stay in shape. It's because I see myself as an athlete. That's the identity I have in my head. I don't play any sports. I used to play soccer in high school. I used to play volleyball in high school, but I don't play any sports. But I see myself as an athlete. So even when I'm not motivated to go to the gym, I ask myself, what will an athlete do? And then I immediately start putting on my gym clothes. Because an athlete doesn't go based on feeling. He goes based on I have to stay in shape because I see myself as an athlete. And that's the identity I have. And because I have that identity, my pride is on the line that anytime I try to flake off, I remember, oh, that's not who we are. This is who we are. This is not who we are. This is who we are. And then I focus on these small atomic daily habits in order to attain that identity that I want to attain. So let me share, and let's go through some more. I could talk about this book forever because it has this concept that is not a new idea, but it's a new way of looking at the same things that I've been looking at. You know, you always go through life in automatic mode, like you know something conceptually, but it never hits you through a way that you understand it so well that it applies to you so well. That's what this book did for me. It took those things that I know and take as common and frivolous. Your identity is buried into the habits you engage in. And if you want to change those habits, start with the identity first. Start with the identity first, not the habits. Start to see yourself differently from the way you're seeing yourself before. Because many people, when they think about change and they try to change, they want to change the outcome first. You change the outcome is momentarily change because you find yourself not being motivated to change that outcome tomorrow. The next in a different way, the incongruence cannot last. It's that you sink to the level of your identity or you rise to the trainings of the new identity you are trying to attain. And that's the key. And that's how you become someone that you respect, someone that you admire. And that key to lasting change, again, is rooted in first understanding the concepts of seeing yourself as a new person, not someone who is losing weight. It's someone who is healthy, not someone who is trying to quit smoking, but someone who is not a smoker. Those tiny change in phraseology makes all the difference in being in your actions and your habit being congruent with the behaviors that you're trying to with the identity you're trying to attain. You want to be something, not do something. Being. You want to be an entrepreneur. You know, often when we are growing up, someone asks you, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be? Because when you are something, you act like what you are. You act like who you are. I want to be a doctor. I want to be an engineer. I want to be a psychologist. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a musician. And then your habits is then built on under this foundation. A musician does this, takes singing classes, tries to post online, make videos, know how to edit this and that. But the root is the identity. The branches is the habits. I just came up with that right now. The root is the identity. The branches is the habits. And the foundation has to be on the foundation of what you're building has to be under something that is something that you want to be. Something that you want to be. So who do you want to be? Not what do you want to do. First is who you want to be. And then, what does this kind of person do? That's where you start. So he says here, habits are compound interest of self-improvement. It's only when you're looking back 2, 3, and perhaps 10 years later that the value of good habits and the cost of the bad ones becomes strikingly apparent. Because just as you can compound good habits, you can also compound bad habits. You know, eating junk food for one day, first day, or even the first 30 days, and you say, oh wow, look how healthy I am. You're being disillusioned. You're being naive. If you eat that unhealthy junk food for 1 year, the results will be very much different. You're going to find yourself in a whole different place. But you're going to ask yourself, how did you get here? But it was those small daily habits, for good or for bad, that compounded to the identity that you were building those habits from. So you want to change your habits, change your identity, change how you see yourself. What would an athlete do? What would a singer do? What would a business person do? What would an entrepreneur do? What would a good citizen do? What would a good student do? Those are the foundations that you start from. And then what this kind of person does becomes a little bit easier to do. Now, of course, there are habit strategies in this book that will help you sustain this new identity. Kind of like giving you the identity and then giving you the tools, the strategies to help you sustain the tool. But I will discuss the tools maybe on the next live, next Sunday. I want to focus more on the mindset on this one. And I think I have found many ways to exemplify, to illustrate the importance of this identity first, and then understanding the concept of small incremental progress to back up the identity and to create that lasting change that is not only attainable but worthy of you, that is the opposite of feeling empty and having depression, anxiety, fear, doubts take place of good, consistent, identity-based habits that will make you someone not only of influence but of an inspiration to the people that see you and look up to you. And that's it for today's live. The people that stopped by, thank you for stopping by, and as always, thanks for watching. Be great. See you next time, and follow for more to stay inspired. This is not good for that.